regularly for boxes, stuff around the house that you don't need. In Australia, you get in our state, you get 2 tip passes. If you pay we call them rates. So if you pay the county or the local government, every year, for us, it's about $2,500. And then that's for road management, like every house, depending on the size of your land, of your house, the block of land that you live on, you have to pay your fees. And then that goes to the local government, and then it helps them for that year pay for road management, your bin, your recycling and your garbage disposal, just things throughout the area. So with that, you get 2 free tip passes for rubbish. On top of the pickup from the roadside stuff, you can take 2 loads or trailer loads to the tip, the rubbish recycling centre or whatever for free. But if you were taking solely like recycling, like cardboard and plastics, it's free. And you also get green waste, so plant material, clippings, things like that, you can take to the tip, and you can get, I think, 3 passes for that. So it's good. And anything on top, usually every time we go and we take garbage or metals, scraps, stuff that won't fit in the bin, it's $24. Okay. So these donuts are super simple. They're healthier style donuts. We're going to be using some Greek yogurt. You can use sour cream if you wanted to as well. I think they have honey. You can use agave. You can use hold on. So we've got 2 eggs, honey, milk, espresso powder, cocoa powder, plain flour, cornstarch, baking powder, chocolate chips, and a bit of butter as well. I thought there was Greek yogurt, but turns out there's not. So you can lower the sugar if you wanted to. We can also do low-fat milk if you prefer, and whatever chocolate chips. You can add mix-ins, go wild. I downsized my guitar collection at the beginning of the week. I gave 2 away to 2 different families whose kids are learning to play, but the families can't necessarily. That's amazing. That's really great. Demilk, that's really fantastic. You've probably made those little kids' day, week, year, and that's encouraging them to play. You should be really proud of yourself. It's really lovely to hear. Just something we can do something small, but we can do something large, big like that and impactful. And you're encouraging people's creativity and getting them involved in the arts. It's amazing. Who knew? All right, I have plain flour here. I need cocoa powder, corn flour, cornstarch, baking powder, and 2 eggs. Oh, let's just go into the pantry. We'll take a little. I have to get a basket. Okay, what did I say? 2 eggs? How many of you like cake donuts? Know what they are? If you don't have a donut mold, you can definitely just use cupcakes for this. They're super easy. You just use 1 bowl and you can make them as versatile as you want. We're gonna be doing like a fudge glaze, like a ganache glaze. Baking powder, cocoa powder, corn flour or cornstarch we're using because it's gonna give us more like a cake flour, because it's lower gluten. So mixing the plain flour with corn flour or cornstarch gives you a lighter flour with less protein. So it gives you a fluffier consistency, fluffier texture. Hello, that Matthew Vic. kid, welcome in. My wife likes them. I do not like them. Why? Why, piece one? Not like a textural thing? Prefer fried donuts? What am I looking for? Flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, eggs. Is that it? Plain flour's there. I think that's it. Too cakey. Donuts need to be light and airy for me. Okay. Maybe I'll show you something. Maybe I'll change your mind. Never had them, Kate. Okay. So they're just think of them as like fudgy cupcakes in a donut mold. The kids would love them. Kids would love them. That's all. I feel like that's all I need to say to Kate, and she'll be like, yes, I'm making them. Okay, milk, honey. I forgot the honey. Eggs. Oh, and espresso powder. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I've always deep fried them. So no yeast, just baking powder. I wouldn't really. The only thing that likens them to a donut is the shape. Ooh! I just found something that I think that I'd like to try. Okay, y'all know I'm a sucker for something different. And when I go grocery shopping, a physical store, I'm like, oh, I've never tried that. Let me get that. Date syrup. Has anyone ever had it? Does anyone use it? I bought this the other day and I just totally forgot about it. It's a sugar alternative. It's like blended dates. It's made in the UAE. Kind of looks like Vegemite, but it's sticky and it tastes like dates. It's like a molasses flavor. I think it would be nice. It's not like as sticky as you would expect. It's more like syrupy. I feel like it's not fully dates. Date syrup. Maybe present sesame. Oh, it must be all dates. Okay, maybe it's all dates. Because like, you know how dates are really sticky? This is like syrupy. Looks like really thick soy sauce. It does. Sugar content. So per serving is a teaspoon. There is 4 grams of sugar. Let's compare that to the honey. 15 grams, double, 11.5. So that's 5.75.
Delicious.
5.75, is that right? Kerry! Damn! 36 months. Thank you very much. Welcome in. How you been, superstar? You've been keeping well? Did you have a good Christmas and New Year? If my dates are really sticky, I missed that. Okay, so slightly less sugar then than honey. Okay. Yeah, okay, so there's, this is something that I never look at. I never focus too much on stuff like this. 213 kilojoules, and it's roughly double the serving size of this. Oh, let's go 100 grams, right? So every so 213 and 90. So halve that, so it's 100 and 112 and a half. Yeah, so this is healthier, less sugar, kind of less calories. I don't know the flavor-wise how this is much more molassesy, and it does taste less. It's got a deeper, richer flavor. I'm going through the life happens portion of life and the work happens portion of work. You're just looking to relax and be a chair potato. I understand. So you just want to sit and lurk, kind of get away from it all. I don't know. And troll. I like it. Troll away, my friend. Give it to me, baby. All right, I think we'll stick with honey. If you don't want to use this agave, whatever, syrup, don't substitute this for liquid. Powder, like granulated sugar. If you are going to do that, you want to use less, and you want to mix it with a little bit of extra liquid, obviously, because substituting a liquid for a liquid, this has a sticky element to it and a liquid element. It's got, a portion of probably some water. Whereas if you're using granulated sugar, it's not sticky, so it doesn't bind, and it also, it doesn't have any liquid. So if you want to do that, probably mix it with like a tablespoon of water or something. And it's okay, but it's not ideal. Syrup should always be replaced with a syrup. Or like a corn syrup or a glucose or a maple syrup or whatever. Okay? Because you think about substitutions, what's in it and what are you substituting it with? Like, is it sticky? Is that sticky? Is that watery? Is that watery? Is that got any fat? And does that have any fat? You know what I mean? Okay, so we're gonna do wet and dry. You could do it all together. If I did this off stream, I would do it in one bowl, but it's better to do it properly. Wet ingredients in a small bowl, dry ingredients in the larger bowl, because you're bringing your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients. And then you can mix, slowly incorporate in there. Some people say to do 3 bowls, because you do your dry ingredients, your wet ingredients, and then you add like a portion and do wet and dry and things like that. I'm not that, I'm too lazy for that. So, and I don't think it's necessary for you guys. Work smarter, not harder. So into the small bowl, we're gonna add in our 2 eggs, like this. Two eggs. We want half a cup or 120 grams of honey. So here, recipe testing, so I've got to do it the right way. And we also want 1 cup of water, also 1 cup of milk. So 250 mils, 1 cup of milk. Like that, beautiful. Half a cup of honey, and spray the inside with, this is rice bran oil spray. I'm trying to move away from canola oil. I've been mentioning that a while. Sometimes you can't because rice bran oil isn't on sale. It's sold out, so I do sometimes buy canola oil, but I prefer to buy a rice bran oil, or if you have peanut oil, something you can buy in bulk that is cost effective. Canola oil, just the processing of it, it doesn't sit well with me. Like, I just feel like if you look into like something that is black and that was processed, it's a black like tar liquid, and then it goes to clear. Like that process, it seems quite unnatural to me. So I'm trying to, I need to probably look into, rice bran oil, and they're all probably similar techniques. But I try to use olive oil, and I try to use a rice bran oil because I just feel like they're a little bit better, but use what you have. So rice, just spray some spray oil in there, and then we're just gonna add in 1/4 cup of honey. Alrighty, so hopefully doing what I thought it would do. It's usually if it's more syrupy, like it's more solid, but this is just sticking to the... I thought we would be working smarter, not harder, but turns out honey isn't playing along. Man, annoying. Hey Sheila. So just get your spatula. Nah, it's not even doing anything. Don't spray the inside. Don't listen to me. So you're looking at about 90 grams of honey. Depending on how sweet you want it, you can add more if you want. 95. Cool. Just editing this. All right. Now put that aside. Into here, we're going, oh, that goes steel scales. Like that. Ah! Keep knocking things off the bench. I asked because I stumbled on wildflower honey without meaning to, and the flavor difference was, oh my goodness. Huge difference. I don't think people realize that honey is so varied, Kerry. It's like, it is a wonderful world of honey. Honey, yeah. I get that. And a lot of people just think honey is honey. It's so not right. And that's why how most common people don't like honey. They've had a honey variety that they don't like. So honey gets its flavor from the bees getting the pollen from certain flowers and trees. So in a certain area, the bees will fly around that area. They'll come back to their hive, and those bees will pollinate, and they'll get the pollen from different trees, and they'll bring them back. And it's usually a mix. It's very rare that it's never really 100% one. Honey does make them funny. That's what makes them funny. Yeah, because they're all different, and they all bring something to the party. So if you live in my area, for instance, there's a lot of jarrah trees, there's a lot of wildflowers, and they will get that. They'll go out and they'll disperse, and they'll come back, and it's like if you go on a field trip, for instance, and you've been on a field trip, or your kids go on a field trip or whatever, you send it. Imagine you're a teacher, and your kids, you've sent them all to the museum, and they all disperse, and they're running around the museum, and they all come back, and they'll tell you different stories, right? Because this little Johnny, he's gone to see the dinosaurs, and he's telling you about the dinosaurs that he's had. Then you've got little Tina, she's been overlooking at the reptiles. And then Archie, he's been going to look at, the ancient Chinese culture, that part of the museum. Someone's gone to look at this and whatever, and they've all come back, and they've come back to you and told you different things. That's what it's like with honey. Bees fly out, they go and experience different things. They collect the pollen, and they bring it back to the hive, and they've all been at different places, and that adds different flavor to your honey when it comes to be. And so if you say you're in Wisconsin, and then you in a different area at Chicago Museum, the kids go out and there's different things. Maybe they're at the Aquatic Museum this time, and they go out and they have different experiences. They come back to the hive, and it's completely different because this time they're in a completely different area. They're in Chicago. It's different trees, different climate, different atmosphere, different weather, and they're at the Aquatic Museum at the moment. So they've got completely different environments. The honey tasted completely different because the difference in weather and the plants and flowers and trees that grow in Chicago is completely different to Wisconsin, the same as Australia. You know, my favorite is a leatherwood tree, leatherwood honey that comes from Tasmania. That is very, very rare. It only grows, like the main population is in Tasmania. It's this wonderful fruity honey that has really just incredible flavor, but it's unfortunately where I live now, the state, you can't bring in raw honey, so I can't really get it. But it really, when you go to farmers markets and there's different honey varieties, or there's a honey stand, go and try them. Your mind will be blown how different the flavors are. From the dark, you'll see a darker, richer honey in like a Mary compared to like a lighter Jarrah honey or wildflower honey. The colors and the flavors are completely different. The texture, some are more syrupy and some are like lighter and runnier. It is a massive, like, you know, tunnel and rabbit warren into a new world that you wouldn't have expected. I know it's very common that people think honey is just honey, but it's not. It's very different. And so, like this honey that I bought, I love that the squeezy tube of it, but the honey is sometimes it can be very sweet, but it's not very flavorful. Like it's not very floral. And you'll find that a lot of people think that they don't like honey, but it's like, you haven't been introduced to the real world of honey. New Zealand Honey tried to trademark Manuka honey, but they failed, yeah. But Manuka honey, it's also, not all Manuka honey will taste the same. Like it's just about the regions and whatnot, from my understanding. I don't know too much about like the variety of Manuka honey, but even when I try in my area, if I try a Jarrah honey compared to a more north, if I go like drive an hour north and then I find a beekeeper that gets their honey from the north region, the Jarrah honey will not be the same because it's never fully 100%, because the bees, even though they're in like a congregation and they might be in a Marri forest or a Jarrah forest of trees, there's always bees that are gonna, you know, those we all know those kids that you're told to stay in the area and they run around or they go to the outskirts or they go into the areas that they're not allowed or not meant to be, and they you know, get messy and dirty and whatever, and they're the naughty kids. That's like honey. You're always gonna have, even when they're in the designated area, there are gonna be some bees that fly a little bit further, a little bit off to the distance. They're gonna come back and they're gonna meddle and, you know, they're gonna have picked up some scrappy flavors that weren't expected. And so it's always different. Little funny fact. I used to talk about honey quite a lot. I'm a big fan of honey. My granddad growing up was a beekeeper, and might be something that I film a video or kind of get him on stream to talk to you guys about honey and how it's made. We might be able to, it'd be really cool if we could do a stream going to like seeing how honey is following like a beekeeper. That would be really sick. That's why like sometimes I want to be a YouTuber and be able to create videos like that to explain to people like how honey's made and you know, how it's processed and that type of thing. I think I'll be snacking on some honey soon. Yeah. So I really urge you, go to a farmer's market and see if there is a honey, like a honey stall there. And a lot of the time there'll be, I know for a fact, the farmers markets we go to, we live in a very abundant area of different wildflowers, native flowers, trees like that are nearby and things, and heaps of bees around and heaps of different honeys, and it's amazing. is really, really good. So just try, get out of your comfort zone, try something new, pick up a different brand of honey this next time you go shopping, and do some research for me. It'll blow your mind. Thank you for the conversation, Kerry. It's a bit different, isn't it? Honey, not just honey. And I probably, I may have spilled a bit of bullshit into what I was just saying, that might not be totally correct, but no, I don't want you to doubt me. Don't doubt me, but yeah, it's a wonderful world. Honey is a really interesting thing. And it's one of those things that we eat all the time. You grew up having honey and you don't realize. There's so many other ingredients like that aren't all equal. Like vanilla extract, vanilla bean paste. What we were talking about a few weeks ago. Butter. Not all butter's the same. Not the same quality, not the same flavor. Olive oils, things like that. They're all, you can buy the basic stuff, but you never know how different it is until you go to a place like a farmer's market or you try different types. Because a lot of the time, if you're open to exploring a food that you may have disliked, it may just been a bad experience with it, a bad batch, a bad, variety of that honey or that butter or that whatever, and you might actually like it. So when I was living in Brazil, my host mum said to me, she said, you never try things once, you try them at least 2 to 3 times. The first time, she always said she preferred 3, but she said you at least try twice. The first time you try something, it could have been prepared wrong, it could have been not as fresh. You got to try something at least 2 to 3 times because, you might try it in one country compared to another way. It might be prepared in a different way. And you've got to give yourself an opportunity to really say, I don't like it, or, or be open to change. And the same thing is that if you've tried something in childhood that you didn't like, try and make it for yourself in adulthood, or try it again because you might be really surprised. And you might, unfortunately, have lived a whole life, a whole long period of time without having that enjoyment of that food. It's like, I really didn't like, what haven't I really liked? I don't know, can't think of anything right now, but like, imagine if, Brussels sprouts. I really hated Brussels sprouts because you're always told in movies and TV shows as well, that enforces it that Brussels sprouts are no good. But when I got older, roasting Brussels sprouts, no water involved, no steaming, no boiling, roasted garlic Brussels sprouts are amazing. And it changed my mind. And, I had all these negative feelings towards them when I was growing up, but now they're so good. A friend was like that recently, didn't like cherries, but as a kid then tried some Christmas and now she loves them. Yeah, and it's like, you poor human, you went all that time without liking cherries, even though they were delicious. All right, in here we're adding 150 grams. Okay, let's see. It's 150 grams, 1 1¼ cup. Okay. Mm. 1 cup. 1 cup. How many of you want to do an experiment for me right now? How many of you have time to run to your kitchen, get some set of scales, and just measure out and tell me the grams of... It's just something that I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, but I just never got around to asking. And I don't want to... I'd love to know, you don't have... In the next, day, could you just tell me, I want you to weigh out 1 cup, preferably now, but I don't want to ask you to... Just go to your pantry, do your best measuring, doing it properly, measure out and tell me the grams of 1 cup for you in your house. I just want to create an average because usually I say 140, but for me, because that's how it is for me, but I want to know for you guys, because I'm trying to standardize all my recipes. Hey, so welcome back. Mollifying the recipe already? No, I'm recipe creating. Don't be sassy. We're gonna, it's in my hair already. I just wanna, is it better? I wanna have my hair down, but also up. Just do that. Out of my way. Okay, when I lean over like this. Yeah, I'd love to know, if you have some spare time, measure out 1 cup of flour for me. If you want to go the whole hog, a cup of flour, a cup of sugar. That would be fantastic. I've done it before, it was 132, but it's US cup, not an Aussie cup. Yeah, so that's why I want to know. That's why you should always do grams. So that's why I do it 140, because sometimes like mine was 148 just then. And then like I try and do the middle point, because then like you can't screw up, the recipe won't be terrible. A cup for me was 150 exactly, yeah. So thank you, by the way. Can we please make a delirium? Can we please make delirium a VIP? I'm so torn, because some people in their recipes on their websites just do grams, because everyone's grams will be the same, right? And that is the most consistent thing if I want to make people have really consistent results. But I'm really torn, because it will be pretty good. Like, it won't be the best, but it will still be like the cupcakes will still work out, the cookies will still work out. They just won't be fantastic. But I'd rather not turn people off making the recipe at all, because it's just in grams. Grams are awesome, but then people measure by cups on websites and use Google on how heavy is a cup. Yeah, right? 1 cup was 140 grams. I know. Peace One, thank you so much. Delirium. I really appreciate, I'm gonna cry, just for you guys going to get up and doing that for me. Thank you so much. I know I said do it, but I didn't expect you really to do it, and I'm really grateful. Okay. Cool. So 10 grams, it's not gonna make or break a recipe. Ideally, of course, ideally it would be grams, but if I write 140 or 150, I don't think it will be a massive issue. I think we just got to create a median. So now we've got 2 people. If there's more people that want to do it, and please let me know. I just want to create, like maybe get 10 people, so 8 more people if you can, measure out a cup of flour for me. How you usually would. Because I don't want you to go out of your way to like do it really neatly. If you, the majority of the time, you know, you're not that detailed. Do it how you would normally measure the cup of flour. Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate it. Okay. I love the fuck out of you guys. I really do. I really appreciate the effort. You know, you didn't, yeah, I just love you. I'm sorry. Good to know. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of coffee. I really wanna make the best recipes I can. The balance between the work, that are consistent, that also, thank you, Mel. Thank you. 162 and 211. All right, I've got to write this all down. You're amazing. Okay, so, and Mel, where are you in the world? Sugar was 203. Oh my God, you guys are the best. I've been I didn't want to ask you guys to do anything. I didn't want to ask that of you. And I just took a chance and I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's do flour. That was plain flour, I just want to confirm. Okay. 140 grams piece one. 140 grams delirium. I know where you guys come from. Mel, 162. Mel. Regular white sugar, regular plain flour. Aussie. Cool, fabulous. My 132 grams was plain flour with Aussie cuppies. But was that like just now, Kerry? You do remember that exactly? Plain flour with Aussie cup. Thank you, Sheila. Okay. So Sheila, piece one, Mel. I heard that, Molly. Samish. So flour and sugar, yes. Tickle me raw. You're an Aussie? 154, tickle me raw. Guys, you're gonna make me get all soppy. Okay, now let's go sugar. 203 for piece one. Who else has done sugar? I missed who else did sugar? Sorry. Mel, tell me what your sugar again. Sorry, 211. Thank you. White sugar, plain white sugar, like granulated sugar. Granulated sugar. Thank you, everyone. Can we get tickle me raw? Everybody, mods, if you can just see everyone that has gone and can you please give them VIP? We've got piece one, tickle me raw, Sheila, Mel, Delirium. Please make sure that they've got VIP. I really appreciate the effort. I just want you to know, really blown my mind. I did a specific scientific 3 weights, 132, 134, and 133. Cool, thank you, Kerry. Okay. So you can see the difference, right? Is piece one got 150, Delirium got 140, Mel got 162, Sheila got 150, Tickle Me Raw got 154, Kerry got 132, 133 average, okay. So, Delirium, are you sure? 118? Sugar, I got, okay, so, if I've missed anyone, just the chat's moving, so 203 grams. Okay. Sugar should be usually around 200. Let me what? And I use caster sugar. Just the granules are smaller. This is another learning opportunity. I'm hoping that you can see the difference in our cup sizes are different. Also, the brands are different, and so some cups. You know, we know that US to Australia there is a difference. There's 10 mils in, because this is volume, right? So the cup in Australia is 250 grams, 250 mils, because it's 4 means a litre. And so whereas the US is 240 mils. So there is a difference. The US one is smaller, so the grams should be smaller. But if we can kind of find a median between them, then I can create my recipes to do roughly to be in the middle, to create that medium. And also, it's also dependent how you scoop it, how you measure it can also make up like the complete difference as well. If you pressurize and yeah. White sugar Aussie cup about 225, okay? And delirium is 227. So piece one, 203, Mel, 211, Tickle Me Raw, 203, Sheila, 225, and Delirium, 227, okay? White sugar Aussie cup, my scale is not electric. Okay, so it's an educated guess, okay. I appreciate that. And I assume everyone else, are you electronic? Speak now. Just need to add a calculator to the website, how easy how heavy your cups are, and then it tells you need 1.3945 cups. So you can't have that on each. I don't know if you're being sarcastic, Kerry, or you're actually saying that we should add something that, like, that's not something that I can create and want, but yeah, I have so in the recipe, your cup weight, yes. So I have in the website, if you've been to the new website, you can convert, but I need to put it in. So the recipe says grams and then to cups. And that's what I'm saying, the cup measurement, I'm doing an average of my tests to see how much it is. So it's like 1.5 cups, but it's always more accurate if you do grams because cups aren't accurate. Even if you measure, like if those people who are measuring now, if you do 3 times the amount of like measurements and get 3 different results, tell me how different they are. 216 grams for white sugar, thanks Kate. All right, so 1 cup, 0. What? Saying the battery's low? I'm pretty sure we replaced this on stream with fresh batteries. Do you guys remember? Okay. So that's how much I would usually do. Like just give it a shake and whatever. 213 this time. Ready? Let's go again. 0. Give it a shake. Get that big clump out of there. 214. Let's go really full. 224. See? Would you like more people to measure? I would love that. Yeah, I would love that if you guys are willing. 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar. I would love that. You're amazing. Does the brand make a difference? It does, just slightly. You know, you would have the granules of the sugar would be different. The environment would be different as well because you think of sugar, for instance, as hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture from the air, and I'm pretty sure that that would play a part. The flour especially as well is going to absorb moisture, and so you might measure that in winter compared to summer and see that this might have more moisture content. The flour might, you know, brands could vary as well. So yeah, it does play a part, especially in bread making. 147 for plain flour for you, Kate, thank you. Nice. So the people that I've got have measured, please let me know if you're on, that I've missed you. I've got Peace One, Delirium, Mel, Sheila, Tickle Me Raw, Kerry and Kate for flour. And then Peace One, Mel, Tickle Me Raw, Sheila, Delirium and Kate for sugar. I used Woolworths plain flour and white sugar. Yeah, cool. This is CSR, I'm pretty sure, caster sugar. And this is caster sugar, right? So baker's sugar, fine sugar, which will be slightly different. It's not too different, but if I use granulated sugar, I'll bring this back so you can see. Granulated sugar has larger granules. So if I did, like that. So that's 1 cup of granulated sugar. That's 209, right? So we're looking at between 203. So when I use granulated sugar, because the small granules, they'll fit more into the space. So it will be way more. It will weigh more. It's not that. There we go. That was scoop, measure it, Kate, if you want to measure it again, how you would usually measure. Like, do you always scoop and measure? Do you want to do one like just scooping? Like just doing, you know what I mean? Like this. I know that not compacted, but I'm trying to get, yeah. Measure how you usually measure. So that one there, 217. So that's why I say caster sugar doesn't really, you know, it might be 5 more grams. Great experiment. I'm loving this. I always take the batteries out and stick them to the underside of the scale so they don't get bumped and turned on in the cupboard. That's a good idea. Maybe that's what I do a lot, bump, because they're, now I've got a better place where they just sit here, but I used to bump them all the time. It's really valid. No pigs in the blanket, so no pancakes. We were making sausage rolls. Pancakes? Pigs in a blanket and pancakes? What do you mean? Hey, Dex. Okay. Sugar, flour. Is there anything else you want to measure? If there's anyone else that wants to measure a cup of flour and a cup of sugar for me, and let me know your grams, your metric total, that would be fantastic. Measure them separately. I mean, don't put them together. Pigs in a blanket, sausage links wrapped in a pancake. I always thought it was pastry. Pigs in a blanket was in pastry. Is it wrapped in a pancake? Didn't know that. Maybe there's different variations. Kaz, thank you. 140 grams of flour. And where are you in the world? Which, Kaz, I just want to make sure that I'm writing everyone's like, do we have anyone that's not in the US and not in Australia? That would be amazing. 140 grams. I'm in the US. That's great, thank you. And 213. Okay. Amazing. I appreciate that. Can we give Kaz a VIP too, please? Look at all you very special people. So, piece 1, Mel, Tickle Me Raw, Sheila, Delirium, Kate, Kaz. Kazvalin, Kate, Kerry, Tickle Me Raw, Sheila, Mel, Delirium, piece 1. Am I missing anyone? Thank you so much. That's phenomenal. So, now we'll just do look at this. You guys can't really see, but look, my second drawer with my calculator. I asked a Canadian friend to dirty measure a cup, 1 cup of regular all-purpose flour. We'll have a weight. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we've got 150 plus 140, just doing old school. 162 plus 150 plus 154 plus 133 plus 147 plus 140. 1, 2, oh, let's do this. So purely scientific, but it just gives me a rough idea. Okay, so divided by 7, 168. How the fuck did it get on? Who was, no one was, what? What? That's wrong. 140 plus 147 plus 133 plus 154 plus 150 plus 162 plus 140 plus 150. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Or one of them, okay, or I accidentally did it. 147. So 147 grams we're gonna go with. Cool, 147 grams. And then sugar, we're gonna go with, we've got 7 people this time, exactly. 203 plus 211 plus 203 plus 225 plus 227 plus 216 plus 213 divided by 7 equals 214. Cool. Okay, so we've got the US there. Out of the 7 people, we've got 1, 2, mainly Aussies, 2 from the US. Yeah, so if we can get some more. I never realized the countries measuring was different. Yeah. Canadian cup, 170 grams of flour. 170? Can we get it, like, do they mind doing it 2 or 3 more times? 2 more times at least? That's really high, considering the average was 147. And Canadians usually similar to the US, I think, with their grams. Because you gotta think of like the products being sold. She is one of those scoop it from the container people. Like, oh yeah, okay. So it's compressed, okay. So that shows you the difference. If you're a compressor, a scooper, 170. That could break a recipe. Like if you're making cookies, your cookies would be super cakey compared to someone that measured like, let's go with Kerry, got 133 compared to 170. Because that difference, so 170 minus 133 is 37 grams. So imagine if the recipe had 2 cups, okay? 2 cups, that's 74 grams difference. And repost, oh, thank you, Shy Melon. Thank you. Piece One, I really appreciate that. Can we give Shy Melon a VIP too? Thank you, Piece One. 150 grams. 3 times 150, 152, cool. Okay. So I'll just do an average of like 151. And sugar. And Shy Melon, where are you located around the world? Please let me know if you don't mind. I really thought that this wouldn't be something very interesting, and I'm really thinking going back to just the simple stuff. Like we don't need to make recipes all the time. We don't need to focus on like getting as much stuff cooking, but like this stuff is interesting and it helps me, and I'm hoping, obviously it's interesting to you guys too. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Please let me know things like this. All right, how many of you want to melt butter? Is that a big ask? Measure some butter. I would like to know half a cup of butter, like a stick of butter. Okay, pour the ingredients. You're an Aussie, Shy Melon, am I saying your name right? She re-zeroed her scale 150. Thank you, Kerry. Kerry's friend. Okay, 150 grams. All right, I missed Shy Melon as well. Oh, thank you, Piece One, thank you so much. 1 cup, 155. And 215, okay. And Justitious, you're in the US, right? 215. Oh my God. Okay, I missed. You're in Australia? For some reason, I thought you. Oh my goodness. I just put an A in front of the US then. Oh, for some reason, I thought you were in the US. Can we get Shy Melon your grams? I'm in Costa Rica, 149, but I have a US cup. I love that. I want to know that. Hyla, is that how I say your name? Guys, we need people from more different countries, like outside of the US and outside of Australia. Message your friends, wherever they are in the world. We want some The Milk Squad in the US, in the UK. We want some Costa Rica. We want some, I'm gonna ring my sister-in-law in Colombia. What time is it? Do you think we can ring? I only have brown sugar. Oh, that's another thing. Brown sugar is what we need to do next as well. Oh my God, that's a good one. And how much was it for you? 197 grams. Okay. Sadly, I don't have a cup measure, Mrs. Syntax. I like that. Otherwise, I would have. That's all good. Which grams would you like? I would like your sugar, Shy Melon, please. I would love brown sugar if anyone would like to give me brown sugar too. Who we thought Molly knew where her viewers were from. Hey, I hope I'm usually pretty good. I was feeding the cat. Did you? I read that as that you were feeding the cat butter. Yes, a butter. If you could measure your grams of butter, please. I want a half a cup of butter. It's usually 1 stick in the US. But I've been in the process of making a measurement category, and maybe I just like get you guys to crowdfund it. When the crowd source the information. You need to make a Google sheet and share it. Yes, that is a great idea. I don't want to ask you guys someone to help me make the Google sheet because I don't even know. I'm not very good at sheets. Okay, the sheet is a great idea. Is anyone familiar, can I ask if anyone's familiar with Google Sheets? I'm not very good at it and good with organizing information. My stick of US cheap butter is 113 grams. I like that. Fabulous. Me, I love spreadsheets. Really? Okay. All right. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. And the spreadsheet idea is fabulous. It's a great way of adding it. Because my plan is to have the recipe, and then you can click and it will tell you like the conversions of, you'll be able to print it out even, be like a really pretty document that has, you can print it out and put it on your fridge, and it tell you my recipes for grams of butter and cups of butter, and that just so that you can work out, and all my recipes are consistent, because sometimes I've created recipes in the past and they are like some 140, some 150, some 135 grams for flour. So if we can make them consistent on the board, across the board, you'll know. This is phenomenal. Really, really good. Okay. 250, 248, 240. Okay. Let's go an average of that. 250 plus 248 plus 240. And that was white sugar, Shy Melon? 246. Okay. That's high. That's quite a bit higher than others. I don't want to sugar shame you, but I'm are you using granulated sugar? White sugar, fantastic. Thank you. Brown sugar, thank you. Piece one. Brown sugar, 170 grams. We want it packed. Yes, 170 grams. Sorry, 170 unpacked, 259 packed. So disregard the 170. I'll write it there just in case, better to have more information than not. So I put the white sugar, plain flour, brown sugar, half a cup of melted butter in Discord as well. Thank you. My cup is super old measure. I wonder if it's bigger than normal one. It was my grandmother's. Wow, amazing. I love that. But yeah, it possibly, and all different brands. Like these are the ones I use, and I've bought them from pretty sure Target. They're metal. I've had plastic ones in the past and they melt in the dishwasher. And you guys know I'm a big fan of a dishwasher. These are basically indestructible. They don't stain really, really easy to use, and they're clunky and they're heavy. I like them. But the shape of them is different. I know, like I asked my mum to measure a cup of flour the other day and she used this scoop because it kind of looks like half a cup, but like you can see like the shape and things are different. So yeah, Mr. Syntax, that's what ours is as well. So we call them a pat or a block of butter, and I only have one brand at the moment, but ours comes in 500 grams, so like nearly a pound of butter, and we cut that. In the US, they come in sticks, which are 113, 114 grams, which is the equivalent of American half a cup. So it's a little bit different, but the other thing that to be aware of is no butter is the same as well. If you, I don't know how we would do, we don't have the scientific equipment, but if you melt butter, you'll see that the milk solids, like if you get two brands of butter and you melt them, the milk solid quantity is different, but also the fat quantity and the water quantity is different. American butter, this is because I took it American ways because there's a lot more videos and stuff on YouTube because it's like American content, but you'll find that American content compared to European butter, American butter compared to European butter has higher percentage of water, less fat. So American butter has like 81 to 82% fat content, whereas European or Australian butter has between like 83 to 85% fat content. So it's a higher percentage. And those in home cooking, and I don't want to scare you all, and I don't want you to think like in home cooking like we do and I promote on our stream, a few grams here and all there, like it's not a massive issue. That's why I don't care about you guys using American cups and me using Australian cups and you using Costa Rican cups and me using whatever. It's not that massive deal. Like it won't make or break a recipe. Your cookies might be slightly chewier, more cakey, whatever, but they're still gonna be edible, right? It's the biggest issue is when you're using 2 cups, 4 cups, 10 cups, making huge quantities, and that 10-gram difference can then be a kilo difference if you're making a huge batch. So that's why you need to be really careful. If you're doubling my recipe, quadrupling my recipe, making 4 times as much as my cookie recipe is, you need to use grams. Really important because it's more accurate and you want to set yourself up for success. In Costa Rica, we get bars of 125 grams. Nice, I like that. I bought the shorty sticks, 1/4 cup each, great for baking. Nice. Yeah, 50-gram buttered, like little blocks. That's pretty cute. In Costa Rica, we get 125 grams. Most of our butter is not 100% true butter unless it's packaged as cream butter, which is an unaltered one. Okay. Some countries may have denser butter. Yeah, more dense butter. You got to think about the cows. If the cows are happier cows, fatter cows, they produce more fat in their milk. And so that milk is then turned into butter, and the way that the butter, and what they eat as well. My butter, people freak out, and a lot of people, if you watch TikToks and YouTube videos and things, a lot of people freak out that this isn't butter, that people think. I've watched some people that I look on Instagram, and people think they're using cheese in their biscuits or their cookies or things. It's not cheese, it's butter, it's just yellow. Because the chemical that's in grass, which cows eat, is transferred into their milk, and it's got a yellow color, yellow tinge to it. Whereas if the cows eat grain, barley, different types of grain, whatever they're fed, that chemical isn't present or less present, less grass, then it's not as yellow and it's more white. Arguably, the taste is slightly different. I'm not sure about the quality is different, but you want your butter to have a higher fat content because that will make your flakier pastry really nice, crisp cookies, compared to higher. If it's cheaper butter, it will have more water in it, and that water will then create not as nice results. Love me some yellow butter, yeah. I actually get a little bit of anxiety using cup measurements. I'm way more comfortable using grams. Me too. I used to be super lazy, but now it doesn't. I used to think that sometimes it would take longer. There's some things where I'm more confident knowing the texture or like the consistency. Like when I make pancakes, for instance, I will use cups because it's quick. And I don't really care too much about like in the breakfast in the morning if I've got fluffier pancakes than flatter pancakes if I'm cooking for myself. But if I'm making cookies, like yesterday I made cookies and Dex's cookies that are going out, and I made sure that I did grams because I want to eat a chewy cookie. I don't want a crisp cookie. And I know if I add too much flour and I use cups, then they're going to be cakey and they're going to be crisp rather than chewy and things like similar, differences. That's a good one. Eggs. I want to ask you guys to do some measuring, but I don't want you to have to go and crack an egg right now unless you're going to cook it because it's a bit wasted. Whereas flour you can put back in the container and sugar you can put back in the container. But that is another thing if we could do is measure eggs. If we could put on the list, if there's someone doing the Google Sheet or making a list, maybe just we'll do a collaboration in Discord, but egg weights are good too. I always recommend, and it's on the website, large eggs are the way to go. They're basically uniform around the world with baking. They're 60 grams, 600. I don't understand why it's 60 grams, but sometimes it's like 60 or 700. I think that's the average of the whole carton, is it? Oh, and trust me, I took these are my eggs that I got from Costco, and I got rid of the lid, so I don't know how much. They're large eggs, pretty sure. As a New Zealand farmer's daughter, it blows my mind that there are dairy cows out in the world not eating green grass. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That you know, and you don't know what you don't know. I grew up in the country and seeing, you know, we did grain and we did primarily sheep and then eventually ostriches, but different countries do different things. And I didn't realize the butter, you know, we always had really yellow chicken eggs and really yellow butter, and it's very different. Only raw eggs, yeah. You can weigh the actual egg if you want, rather than the egg like cracking it. That might be easier if you want to do it tonight or today. Just weigh, get yourself like this. Okay, grab that, just a bowl, and I'm just gonna weigh. Obviously the shell is gonna weigh something, but that's 65.5 grams. This one here, oh, my scale is low. I'm gonna have to just change the things, 64.3. But I found the better quality eggs have like a firmer shell. So that might be a little bit of difference as well. I have unfortunately cracked my eggs that I need for the recipe, but I will need one for later. Add it to the list in general. My whole life I've had fresh eggs because my grandmother has chickens and they're different from hers. Has chickens and they're different from hers and oh yeah, the difference between the chickens that you raise at home and store-bought is very, very different. The taste is different, the color is different, and you'll also notice the freshness. It's something that I've done before, but we're in the spirit of it now. Let's show you. Get a plate, and if you want to see how fresh your eggs are, these were purchased on the 26th of December. So how long is that? That's 2 weeks ago? A week ago? What's the date? What's the date today? Is it Friday? So like a week and a half ago. A week and a half. Yeah, Monday. So 7, 13, 12, hold on. 12 days ago? 11 days. Anyway, so these aren't as fresh, but what will happen if you get eggs that, I'll show you what this is like. Before we do this, how many, everyone knows that there's mainly 2 parts of an egg, right? Well, 3, let's go. There's the shell, there's the egg yolk, and the egg white. You understand? 3 parts of the egg mainly that people know. And you can distinguish. Okay, so we're gonna crack the egg, there. There's actually 4 parts of the egg. You've got the egg shell, which we just threw out. You've got the egg yolk, the egg white. This is also the egg white, but this is the thin and the thick. So here, we're gonna be poaching eggs on Monday, and we're gonna be going through this. And I'm gonna teach you how to poach eggs and how to do it more effectively. But this here is the thick egg white, the thin egg white, and the yolk. So if you're poaching eggs, a great thing that people, if you wanna get a really pretty poached egg, is you strain this liquid. As the egg, like say it's just come out of the chicken, you have a really tight protein, this egg white here. It's mainly all protein and some water. But this here starts to deteriorate over time. The older your egg gets, the more this deteriorates, and it will all become really liquidy, right? And so if you've got a really tight protein like this is pretty good, but if it was really fresh, it would be a lot more tight and you would have less liquid. So this is a week and a half old, maybe 2 weeks from the chicken, and it's looking pretty good. But this here will give you stronger proteins than an older egg. So it's quite interesting to look at when people, when you realize what it looks like. Some chickens will create larger yolks, and then small, in comparison, smaller egg whites. Some will have double yolks, and it's the same way that in a human. Someone bought our cookbook. Heck yes. Thank you very much for your order. Who was it? I really like this Science with Molly portion. Thank you. Yeah, so this is, depending on what recipe you're making, fresher or older eggs may play a part. When you're cooking an egg, like as an egg, to make an omelette, to make a poached egg, you want really fresh eggs. If you're making a cake, it doesn't matter as much. If it's like older than a week, it doesn't really matter. But when you're cooking eggs to poach them, you get better flavor, better structure, and better binding if you use fresher eggs. There's so much more to consider this is stuff you learn over time, and I don't ever want to bombard you with information, just stuff you pick up over time, and that's why First Things First is good. It's the guide to getting you started. It's our first kind of guide of like cooking that when I was like first starting streaming and what I wanted to level up my, as a self-taught cook, I always felt really like I have a lack of knowledge. Like there's stuff that I do all the time and I know and I've picked up, but there was no kind of, I've always wanted to learn as much as I can through reading and videos and things. And when people have come to me and they're like, oh, what kind of do you recommend and what I would want as a cookbook or as a guide to cooking, there wasn't really anything. It was either too basic or too overwhelming. And so I think it's pretty great, and Exceed and I are very proud of it. We created First Things First. It started, a lot of you would already know, and you're very familiar with First Things First, but there's a whole story about how it came about with COVID, and now it is what it is. It's a self-published cookbook. It is more expensive, I can acknowledge that. It is quite expensive, but it's a book that has been created and tested by the community. We have a recipe testing team that worked phenomenally. We created over 70 recipes, and it's something for all levels of cooking and cooks. If you're beginning, if you're more intermediate, you'll learn something in there about budgeting, what to stock up in your pantry, your equipment that I really love, that I recommend, and There's heaps of great recipes, and they're very simple, and they'll get you cooking, they'll build your confidence, and it's something to really kind of go back to and familiarize yourself with quite often. And I really want to build on that. That's a really basic level, and then I'd love to be able to one day, with the help of the website, create more guides of more information in blog posts. And so I have planned in this new year, and just really learning how to find my feet with organization, of balancing creating recipes, but also this type of information, of writing up a post, because I'm really good with the ideas and talking. I can talk to you about them, but I need to, it's another thing of me sitting down. I'm not very good with writing things out and making a blog, and that's what. But I wanted, it's more evergreen content, and that you don't have to keep watching the stream. Dream PC Play, welcome in. Come on in. We're learning about some different kind of food science things today. We're talking about measurements and grams and different ingredients that you might not be aware of. This was started by Kerry talking about honey. So we can thank Gary for this. How was your stream? I hope you're doing really well. Yeah, so I'd love to be able to, and I will, and my plan is to be able to do a post on, basics of butter, why butter is different, and from a really approachable level, like a really layman term document that has like, why is butter yellow? And answering your questions as well that the people have asked me throughout the years of like, why is butter yellow? What is the difference? Is there any, point of buying good quality butter to not? There is a video if you really want to learn about butter specifically. We have a video that's on YouTube where we did 2 streams where we compared different types of butter, the flavor, the taste, and the texture that butter created. And welcome in, Rick. Lovely to have you here. Come on in. And yeah, it's just something that I love to talk about, and it's easy for me to talk about on streams because I can just rattle off words, but I'm just learning about having to sit down and type it out. I'm just figuring out how I can do that, how I can get the information from my mind and put it on paper or put it on a blog post. Just give me some time with that, because and then I'm also figuring out how much detail to go into, what you'll need to know. But I can always do like a series on butter, or a series on sugar, or a series on honey, things like that. And I want it to be more kind of informal, conversational, like we talk about on streams. And I'm trying to find a way of bringing that to the blog, bringing that to the website. And I want it to be so formal that it doesn't have any me in it. But that is easier. Like if I just drop stuff, I can type it out really quickly, but I want to be able to, talk like how I talk on stream. These are just the ideas that are coming through my head. I'm just, just explaining what I'm going through at the moment. I have just trying to really collate my ideas and dreams and things into something that is concise. And yeah, that's it. Okay, now we talked about the egg, so we might as well measure the egg. We've cracked it now. So they're the 3 parts of the egg, like that. Thin egg white, thick egg white, and egg yolk, okay? And so next time you go to cook an egg, think about if you're cooking a omelette or a poached egg, you want a fresher egg that has kind of this thicker part. I have read though, which I need to learn more about, is like meringues and when you're whipping just plain egg white for meringue and macarons, they talk about drying your egg white, and that's basically sitting it out in the fridge, and it basically like dehydrating the egg white, and then it allows it to be whipped firmer and stiffer, I think. So please, give me some time to learn about that. If you guys are familiar, let me know. But I've heard that you put it crack them in a container, put it in the fridge, and you let them sit in the fridge overnight, and that helps them kind of, I don't know, dehydrate, dehumidify, I suppose, and then they incorporate more air. I don't know if that's exactly what I read, but I'll have to learn some more about that so I can teach you. I love learning, so then I can teach you guys, and you guys don't have to watch the videos, read the books and stuff. You can just read like a blog post. No, Commander Chef, welcome in. Hope the optometrist just went well. Get some new glasses. Eye test. All right. So, the egg was 65 grams, 53 grams now without a shell. 65.5, yeah. So 50, surely that's not 10 grams, no way. It's an empty eggshell. 8.5 grams. $8.5 grams. Wow. Wow. One problem with that theory, if it's correct, who reads a recipe more than 3 minutes before? Yes, and that's my ethos on food as well. Like, I don't do a lot of the steps that people say where, make a poolish, and I've tested recipes with poolish, and for me, I don't think it's worth it. And in my everyday cooking, I am a no fuss cook. I don't like the idea of making a poolish, which is basically mixing a little bit of yeast, a little bit of water, and a little bit of flour, mixing it together, putting it in the fridge overnight, coming back, then making the dough, then refrigerating that, then coming back and then making your bread. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do it twice. I'm gonna mix all the ingredients, put it in the fridge, bring it out, then bake it. Like, I don't like doing all of the steps when I just find that I don't like going to that effort. And I don't think it is as necessary. Like, I'm not saying that it's not required or it's not makes a better result, but like, does that result, do you care that much about making a 5% difference in your aeration or your moisture of your bread? I don't really think that everybody does in everyday cooking. Yeah, when I want brownies, I want them now. I don't want them in 24 hours. Like, with the way that we live, we want something and we usually want it now. It's probably a big ask for when I have my focaccia recipe, my no-knead recipes, my pizza dough recipe that we're gonna be making in the new year. Well, it is the new year. That is a 2 to 3 day fermentation, but you don't need to do anything. Like, you literally mix it, pop it in the fridge, 3 days later, take it out and make pizza. It is hard because you need to know in 3 days in advance, and I suck at that, but it does make the best pizza dough that I've ever had. You can do it in 2 days, you can do it in 1 day, and it's good. It's not great, but it's good, and it will still make you good pizza. Like, there are recipes that are ideally made in longer proofing time. However, if you want to make it now, you can do that. You just need to be aware. The flavor is developing. It's a no-knead recipe, so you don't need to mix it. You don't need to knead it. You basically mix the ingredients together, make it so that it's like a dough, put it in the fridge and leave it for 2 or 3 days. The flavor is better. It's got like a chewier texture because of the gluten. The enzymes activate the gluten, and the starches absorb the water, and it does all the good magic things that we do with no-knead recipes. And I love that. But sometimes Exceed said to me, I really want pizza tonight. I'll be like, okay, let me go back in my time machine and we'll go back to 3 days earlier and we'll make the dough. It's not always like that. So if I can give you a recipe for a 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day, then you can choose however good you want to make it. It's the same with, like say for instance, that recipe, that dough ball, you can make that 3 days ahead. Like say for instance, you've got some time where you want to make pizza now, and then you're like, okay, me making this again and having 3 days in advance is probably unlikely. So what about I make a double batch? We have pizza tonight, we make some dough, and then we freeze that. Or we make some semi-cook the pizza base and freeze that. So that past you has done the work that present you or future you will thank you for. Like that type of stuff is what I'm about. Like freezing, making ahead of time, pre-baking. Like I love fresh dinner rolls, but I don't always feel like making them. So if I can make dinner rolls today, make extra for next week or next month, then I'll be like, fuck yeah, and I'll be amazing. Because I'll be more likely to eat healthy and eat better, homemade, if I've made it ahead and I don't have to think. You know what I mean? Are you guys the same? You kind of understanding what I'm saying? Like, if you know the type of cook you are, if you you're on holidays, then I'm more likely, if I'm on holidays, to make something from scratch and take the time to be more intricate and give it the proofing time, because I know I'm not in a hurry and life's amazing and whatever. But it's very rare. But if you feel like that, then the 3-day recipe is there for you. But if you want to make it today or you want to make it tomorrow, you can definitely do those steps too. I want to cover all bases. I found a 40-ish minute pizza dough recipe, perfect for when little Miss 7 demands pizza at short notice. She has peasant taste, so fine. Quick is fine for her. Yeah. Dang, peasant taste? I feel attacked. Yeah, definitely. I like it. Totally feeling the same way. That's why I eat more processed food than fresh, because I'm always in a hurry. Cool. So I think we're on the same page. We're going to be making, in the new year, this 2023, we're going to be making recipes that you're quick, delicious, but can be taken to the next level if you want, but doesn't have to be. Like my brioche dough, better if it's refrigerated. Cookies, majority of the time, cookie dough, bake it, make it into a dough ball, freeze them, and then you can have cookies any time of the day, any time. Or what you can do is you can bake them straight away and then freeze them. Or like the recipes where I made cookies yesterday and the cookie dough needed to be refrigerated. I haven't finished the cookies because I was like, if I'm gonna put them in the fridge, I can't be like, I won't get back to them straight away. But if I have a recipe that I can make, this is the way, like my life is hectic and it's busy and whatever. You are the same. I know that you're the same. And so if a recipe says to you, put it in the fridge for 20 minutes, in 20 minutes, I'll be doing something else and I'll get distracted and I won't come back to it. Or it'll come back to it like hours later or the next day, which doesn't matter for this type of recipe. But if the recipe was like bowl it, roll it out, cut it, put it in the oven, I would have had cookies by now. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are better. They are better. A cookie that is refrigerated is usually better because they don't spread as much. They're better texture in some recipe, some form, like a short marinate meat, unheard of, right? So that's why you'll see a lot of the recipes, I'm less and less marinating, or I'd say you don't need to. You can put it in the fridge for 20 minutes if you want. You don't have to. Sometimes I do marinate stuff. I just put them aside and let it just sit there while I'm doing other stuff. But I don't usually think ahead of time. And that's, I used to go, I think lazy cook sometimes describes it, but I'm like, I think I just had the word. Like not a fussy, but like an uncomplicated cook is probably what I describe myself as. Yes, I do fancy food, but a lot of the time I just want to prepare it now. And I hate, as much as I make bread, I hate proofing recipes because they take so long. And you know, some brioche enriched doughs take longer to proof. And I've got to wait 2 hours for my bagels. Like I want bagels now. So, you know, there's just some stuff that you can't get around, but if we can, I will. I'll show you how. Cool? You're on board? Get on board my bandwagon. I'm taking numbers. Who's in? Who's in the Molly bandwagon for 2023? Simple, easy, quick meals, delicious meals. Who's with me? Last time I marinated meat, it was marinated for a week and I forgot about it. Tony, I love it. I love it. Love it. All aboard. Come on. Piece one's on. Shy Melon's on. Let's go. Let me hear it. Are you interested in are you picking up what I'm putting down? Look, I put it down. Do you want to pick it up? Are you on the same page? Are you in the same hemisphere? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Delirium, I'll take that as a yes. We've got 3 on board. 3 on board. And we're going to get back to cooking. Put these aside. Thank you everyone who has participated so far in our Mollytopia conversion kit, we're going to call it. It's the Mollytopian conversion calendar or something. We'll have a fancy name for it, but we'll make a document and it'll be good. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back to the last hour of conversation, what we've been doing. Okay, so plain flour in here. How much is it? I feel like I have to dump it out so we can remeasure. The average that I am using is, where did I write it? 147 grams. Okay. Are you making pastry? We're making exclamation mark title. So for brown sugar, I've got 2 people. Butter, I've got 1, but I'll get them on Discord. Okay, 147 grams, okay? 1 cup. It's a good thing Exceed isn't waiting for breakfast. His breakfast was half an apple he bit into. And I told him that was for a recipe, he couldn't eat it. Okay. 107. I'm so chuffed right now. Guys are the best. Do you know that? You're pretty amazing. Okay, 147 grams. It has been officially updated. Okay. Now we want 50, cocoa powder. That's another thing we're gonna need to get everyone to measure too. 100, sorry, not 100. Cocoa powder and corn flour, cornstarch, okay? It's just easier if you guys just do a cup, because then I can divide it into like 3/4 of a cup, half a cup, or whatever. I'll just do them. Okay, 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch or corn flour. Grab my 1/4 of a cup, grab my spoon, and let's do this. Get my little... Just basically weigh out the whole pantry and send it. Yeah. Okay. 32, and on here I've got 30. So my last measurement last time was 30. It would have been like 31 or something, and I just put 30. Okay, cocoa powder, same thing. We are doing half a cup this time. I don't want it to screw up my recipe, my scales. I'm just gonna grab some more. I have some AAA batteries, 2 AAA batteries. Yep. I'm now realizing my pantry is shockingly low on a lot of ingredients. Here. Thanks. Okay. Cocoa powder is again another thing that is hygroscopic, and it's going to be clumps a lot as well. And Pottsler, welcome in. We have been streaming for 3 hours and 5 minutes. We have been talking a lot about food science this morning and measurements, the difference between grams and grams and pounds and cups, and not pounds, sorry, the difference with cups and grams, metric and imperial system, talking about eggs, different ingredients. So if you want to go and watch the VOD, it's quite interesting. We're taking crowdsourcing information. So we're asking people, not now or whenever you've got time, I'd love a measurement of a few ingredients in your house with your cup measurement, and do the metric, like, weigh it out for me. So far we're doing flour, sugar, butter, corn flour, cornstarch, cocoa powder, and we were gonna create a document, a community document for it. So help create better recipes. And that's your 30-second recap. We're making donuts. We're making fudge donuts as well. Okay, so thank you to Exceed's giving me fresh batteries. Link the batteries together. Okay, so 0. And now we want half a cup of plain flour. This is messy. Okay, that, what did I say? 50 grams, that was 41, because I would have compacted it more. Okay, so that was 41 grams. So let me, if I do it like I usually do it, where you're compacting it, like that, and scrape it off the sides. Ready? 51.6. So let's go 45 grams. No, let's go for, and I'll just do packed next to the recipe. Okay. Alrighty, cocoa powder. What cocoa powder do you prefer? Do you know there's different types of cocoa powder too? Not all cocoa powder is the same. Do you know the difference between cocoa powder and cacao powder? What do you use? Do you know black cocoa powder? Dutch process. Do these terms, anything like this, have you heard it before? Do you know what it is? It's okay, completely okay to tell me, and a lot of you will be thinking, I've never heard of it, and I want you to tell me that. There's no judgment. Whoa, 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 whoa. so 50 grams. I love Dutch cocoa powder when I can get it. Yep. No idea, assume they're the same. Great, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. So cocoa powder come from the cocoa plant, cacao plant to make cocoa. So cacao is what you'll find in the health food stores. It's a healthier, it's less processed. Cacao is, depends on where it comes from, more expensive, but it's less processed. Cocoa is deeper, darker, richer. You have regular cocoa powder and then you've got Dutch processed. And so naturally, cocoa has an acidic agent to it, so it's an acid. And so when that comes in contact with baking soda, it creates a reaction, okay? So anytime an acid reacts with baking soda, then it creates bubbles, right? Dutch processed goes through a process, it's more processed. It is a deeper, darker, dark color cocoa powder, but it's not as acidic. It's goes through a process where it's not acidic and it's more, I think, alkaline or more base. And that means that it doesn't react as much or at all with baking soda or baking powder. So it doesn't, it won't create that fluff, that puff. So if you're using Dutch processed cocoa, the darker cocoa, you just need to be aware that you need to add like a little touch of lemon juice or a little touch of vinegar to your recipe, just to make sure that it's doing what it's needed. If you see a recipe that has, some of my recipes will have like a chocolate cake, I'll use baking soda. Sometimes I'll use baking powder and baking soda, but if you're that might be confusing, but if you are using Dutch process and the recipe will say Dutch or Dutched or Dutch processed cocoa powder, or it's really, when you've cooked with it, it's like a really black, like dark cake, then you'll know you just need to add a little bit of vinegar or a little bit of acid when you're using it. You just keep that in mind. Black cocoa is like, I think the process is it's completely Dutch, where it's like, it's black, I can show you. And it makes amazing black cakes. Doesn't have a lot of flavor. So with the comparison of your regular cocoa powder and Dutch cocoa, it's more of a mellow flavor. You get more of a, it's not as rich, but the color is nice. And so some people prefer it, some people like it. Sometimes you can use a balance of Dutch and non-Dutch. But then black itself, it doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it is black. Instead of using food coloring or carbon, like that, what's it called? The charcoal, the charcoal powder, I use this. So this is black cocoa, and it makes it actually black. I'd be wary of Dutch powder anything. In terms of cooking with it, one is better to work with the other. It's all personal preference. I used to use Dutch quite a lot, but it can make your food really dark, and for my purpose, it isn't as good because it doesn't photograph as well. It's too dark, and the camera doesn't pick up the nice texture. It looks too dark, and it's not as nice. And people think it's black food coloring on stream. They think it's too black. Hey Google, what is the difference in flavor of Dutch process and regular cocoa?
On the website SeriousEats.com, they say, Dutch processed cocoa has a more intense, chocolatey flavor, while natural cocoa looks lighter in color and tastes slightly astringent.
Sorry.
Do you want a little more context?
No. Sorry, I did get that wrong then.
Okay.
So this is black cocoa. This is Woolworths brand cocoa powder. Yeah, so usually I use Dutch process because like it's got the color is really nice and the flavor is nice, but and sometimes it isn't as what would you say? It isn't as nice to photograph. I'm just trying to find in my pantry if I've got any cacao. So yeah, I would say if you're not photographing things, I would say use Dutch, but you need to add some acid. Yeah, so that is cocoa powder, and this is I'm pretty sure that's I don't know, remember exactly. That might be Cadbury cocoa, or it might be this one. I have a feeling it is this one. This is just this like generic brand cocoa, but it doesn't say Dutch process. So it'll be even deeper, darker than that if it's Dutch. And then cacao is like this. This is a very light. It's a bit too light. That's more, look, I think this might be actually drinking chocolate with milk powder. I don't think that's right. Yeah, so I would say between them, this is, I do apologize because usually I have more, like I usually have a Dutch process and I think that is non-Dutched. We'll do a cocoa stream. Mods, if there's mods here, can you remind me? But never guess 2 on the right were cocoa powders. Yeah. But, hey Google, add Dutch processed cocoa to my shopping list.
Sure, I added Dutch processed cocoa.
And you also can get like, brands like Hershey's. Hey Google, is Hershey's cocoa powder Dutched?
On the website handletheheat.com, they say, Hershey's special dark cocoa powder is indeed Dutched. Do you want a little more context?
No. Yeah, I always thought, because Hershey's is quite dark if I've seen it in videos. I've never used it. I saw it at Costco the other day, and that is quite dark. So to recap, because I misspoke, Dutch process has a richer chocolatey flavor, but less acidic, and a darker color. So it can be quite dark. It is good to use, but you need to know, if the recipe doesn't say Dutch process cocoa, you need to add a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar. So if you're using it, if you have Hershey's or you have a really dark brand of cocoa powder, just add a little touch of lemon juice or a touch of vinegar. If you aren't, or if you taste it and it's quite acidic, then it's not Dutched and you don't need to add anything else. But will give you a lighter color in your chocolate cake. I've never had a black cocoa before. The really light one reminds me of drinking chocolate. Yeah. The Hershey's is what we use when we get cocoa. Yeah, so it's got a nice flavor. It's really rich and really chocolatey and luxurious, but you might find if you don't add the acidic agent, you don't add lemon juice or you don't add vinegar, you won't get as fluffy a cake, because you need something in the cake to react with the baking soda or baking powder to make it puff. So that's only if you're using baking soda. I know that this might confuse you, and I get really nervous about, confusing with too much information. If you're using a cake recipe that has baking powder, it's okay. If you're using a recipe that has baking soda, you need to make sure that the recipe has lemon juice or vinegar in it if you're using Dutch process. Am I making sense? That make sense? Any questions, feel free to ask. And like one day you're cooking a recipe and you've got this inkling, you remember me saying something on stream, jump in Discord, ask the question, and we'll help you. You'll be like, Molly, what was it about lemon juice and cocoa powder? Or whatever. And if I'm not available and to, the community will help, that's what we're here for. But all of this stuff that I talk about on stream, my aim is to somehow put it into, blog format. Okay, so cocoa powder, corn flour, cornstarch, and plain flour. What I don't know too much about, I haven't tested anything, but the difference between cornstarch and corn flours, the brands, the difference between like a cheaper brand and a more expensive brand. I usually use a more expensive brand because I have an inkling that they are built differently, but I'm not 100% sure. So just keep using what you're using and I'll look into it. I need to write myself a note about that. Okay, thank you, Kate. Kate's amazing. She put a message in Discord, cup of flour, cup of white sugar, brown sugar, melted butter, egg. Kate, if you're still here, I know that she's probably at work, but adding cocoa powder and corn flour, cornstarch. Molly to do. Read about corn flour, starch, okay, I think that's it. All right, sorry. I hope that we've just taken a deviation. We'll get back to cooking. I do get messages occasionally where people complain that I don't cook enough and that I keep talking. But that's what I do, that's what here. I'm hoping that sometimes we don't cook as often, but we can, troubleshoot and we can talk about, leveling up your cooking and you might learn something. And so if that's not for some of you, then I don't mind. Okay, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. When it's in teaspoons, I don't really worry too much about grams. Aladdin's girl, can you explain the difference between pigs in a blanket and sausage rolls? Well, for me, a pigs in a blanket is something that I've never eaten, but I hear about all the time. And I always assume pigs in a blanket was a sausage wrapped in a pastry. I've been told that it also wrapped in a pancake, but a sausage roll is a rolled, like physically rolled. It's just a cylinder of meat, ground meat, and we're gonna add some fennel and some spices and some chopped up apple today. And that is then rolled in puff pastry and baked. So there's no sausage skin, like it's not held in a sausage casing. It's just like a mixture of ground meat, where today we're using pork, and it's wrapped in pastry. So that's how it's different. What does a pigs in a blanket mean to you? That sounds better. It is. It's better. And you can make it at home. Okay. Okay.